In our example here, where we're looking at non-constant growth stock, let's talk about what they refer to here as value drivers. Well, the variables that we're looking at, there's 4 or 5 variables. What happens if those variables change? In this case, we've seen that the return on invested capital was 8%. That's too low compared to the weighted average cost of capital. The rate of return is less than the cost of financing the project. So that would not increase the value of the firm. Now, if the return on invested capital, if it's greater than this formula, right, that means that that future value, that horizon value, would be greater than the total net operating capital. So that is our benchmark that we want to shoot for. We need to have a ROIC that is greater than 8.26%. That will help us to increase the value of operations. So let's look what happens if we just change sales growth. Increase all the percentages by 1%. This higher growth causes the actual value to fall, right? So now we still have this return on invested capital is still less than this 8.26%. So we see that overall the value of the company will continue to fall. In this case, higher growth in these future cash flows is causing a failure. Why is that? It's because the operations, right, the value of the company is growing at less than what it costs to actually finance that company. What if we have higher operating profitability? Go back to the original growth rates, but now we have an extra 1% in operating profit. In this case, you can see that the ROIC jumped to 9.8%, certainly greater than the 8.26% and greater than 9%. So that means that it's actually going to increase value. So again, if we can increase our operating profitability, that should increase value of the firm. I think that should make sense. What about lowering our capital requirements? Instead of 56%, what if it's only 51%? So now if we look what happened, so we have lower capital requirements, that increased our ROIC, right? It's greater than 9%. So again, it shows an increase in value of the company. And again, this 8.8% is above that 8.26%. So ultimately, we're going to be increasing value in the firm. What if we simultaneously can increase operating profit and lower capital returns? Again, we see a dramatic increase in ROIC, which then obviously equates to a greater increase in value. So again, as we see, if we can increase profitability, decrease the capital requirement, we're going to see improvements in value. If everything changes, again, we can still see a pretty dramatic change. So if we can increase the growth of cash flows, increase operating profits, decrease our capital requirement, that's going to add substantial value to the company. So in summary, what do we got going on here? The value of operations are going to change as these variables change. Those are the variables that for the most part we have control over. So as ROIC grows, we're going to have higher values of the end company. As the growth rate of cash flows grows, we are also going to see increases, but we're only going to see increases once ROIC goes above the weighted average cost of capital, above that 8.26%, excuse me. So again, this is just a quick view of value and how this value can have an impact on us. So again, this is a short video, But I just want to kind of bring this to a conclusion, thinking about the value of the corporation as a whole. See you soon.